The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, assured that Kiev would sit down to peace talks with Moscow only if Vladimir Putin is no longer in the Kremlin. He also recalled that Ukraine, through its actions, has been an informal NATO member since the beginning of the war.
Ми де-факто союзники. Це
We are de facto allies. This has already been achieved. We are de facto members of NATO. We have de facto proven compliance with NATO standards. And the standards are real for Ukraine, real on the battlefield and in all aspects of our cooperation. We trust each other, help each other, and defend ourselves. This alliance is already underway.
де-факто.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg reminded that Ukraine, as a sovereign state, can decide its future on its own.
NATO allies, when they met at the NATO summit in Madrid, stated also very clearly that we support Ukraine's right to choose its own path, to decide what kind of security arrangements it wants to be part of. Then a decision on membership, of course, has to be taken by all 30 allies, and we take these decisions by consensus.
According to experts, this step made by Volodymyr Zelensky is a natural consequence of Vladimir Putin's criminal activities. This type of decision, first of all, is a testament of the maturity of Ukraine's political elite. But also, certainly, this decision was pre-consulted with NATO structures. Ukrainians are in support of their president and are in favor of joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
В будь-якому випадку це позитивно з цієї причини, що
Anyway, that's good because it proves first that the Supreme Commander understands on which side of the border our future lies. Second, it's better to go towards a civilized world. If that at least gives us more weapons and political support, why not? It's long overdue. President Poroshenko also mentioned it when he was president. The NATO path has been approved by Parliament and the Constitution. So I'm just happy about it, and I hope that this problem will be resolved soon. I think this is an opportunity for Ukraine in terms of weapons, defense, and hope for the future. That's what I think. I think that if my family is safe thanks to this, my country will be safe, and I'll be able to travel safely to my relatives in the Zaporizhia region, and NATO will protect us in this way. Then yes, but I'm not sure what the consequences will be. The most important thing is not peace, but Ukraine's victory. Then I'll be able to see my relatives. U.S. President Joe Biden has assured that the Western world will never recognize the pseudo-referenda that the Russians held in eastern Ukraine, and promised further support for Kiev.
We're going to continue to provide military equipment so that Ukraine can defend itself and its territory and its freedom, including additional resources that the Congress is going to give me today of $13 billion more to help the Ukrainians defend themselves and fight back. And we're fully prepared to defend. I want to say this again. America is fully prepared with our NATO allies to defend every single inch of NATO territory.
Disturbing news, however, is coming from Enerhodar. According to the head of Energoatom, Petro Kotin, the Russians kidnapped the general director of the Zaporizhia Nuclear Power Plant, Ihor Muraszow. The vehicle of the Director General of the nuclear power plant was stopped. He was taken out of the car, and with his eyes blindfolded, he was driven to an unknown direction. For the time being, there's no information on his fate. Meanwhile, the Russian mobilization is on its way to the front. The North Atlantic Pact has recently expanded to include Finland and Sweden. In order for Ukraine to join the alliance, the consent of all 30 member states is required. The Baltic states have already expressed their readiness to support such a solution. In turn, today the Ukrainian army began to enter Liman on the Donetsk Oblast. Liman is a city that was occupied by the Russians.